We'll begin with what I consider the core four of strategic planning: goals, strategies, actions, and key performance indicators. I call them the core four because once you know your direction, these four interconnected components create the foundation for what you'll build. We'll begin with setting high-level goals. These significant, overarching objectives define where you want to go. Let's get started. High-level goals provide a clear sense of direction and purpose. In your strategic journey, they are the destinations on your map. With them, you can avoid wandering aimlessly. Let's see why they matter. High-level goals offer several benefits. They clarify your team's focus, align your efforts with your vision, inspire and motivate your team, and provide a basis for tracking progress. Impactful high-level goals are SMART, meaning their aims are clear and well-defined. They allow you to track progress and success. They're realistic and attainable. They align with your vision, and they have a set time frame. Here are some sample high-level impactful goals for the law firm that set its vision to become a globally recognized leader in startup law, driving possibilities for startup companies to grow and thrive. First goal is grow revenues earned from startups by 50% over 2 years. Next, they set a goal to increase startup referrals by 20% in the next year. And their third goal is to earn 3 new top-tier rankings in startup law by the end of the next year. When crafting high-level, impactful goals, consider what you want to achieve in the long run. Contemplate the impact you want to make and the change you aim to bring about. Take a moment to pause the video now and jot down a few high-level, impactful goals for your team, making sure that they fit into the SMART model criteria: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. That concludes our discussion on setting high-level goals. Now that we have a direction, we'll explore how to develop strategies to achieve those goals. Before we dive into strategies, let's touch on how they differ from high-level, impactful goals. Remember, goals are the destinations on our strategic journey. Strategies, on the other hand, are the routes we take to reach those destinations. Strategies can also be defined as our broad approaches to achieving our goals. They outline the overarching methods we'll employ to make progress. Here are some example strategies corresponding to the high-level, impactful goals presented earlier. If the firm aims to grow revenues earned from startups by 50% over 2 years, a strategy might be to grow its fintech practice, which predominantly works with startups. To increase startup referrals by 20% in the next year, a strategy could involve building relationships with venture capital firms likely to refer clients. For earning 3 new top-tier rankings in startup law by the end of next year, a strategy could be concentrating thought leadership and marketing efforts on becoming known as the leading firm in startup law. When crafting strategies, you'll want to consider your team's and organization's unique strengths. You'll also want to think about the resources available to you, the competitive landscape, and what approaches align with your mission and vision. Now let's talk about actions. They are the specific, actionable steps to follow your chosen strategy and reach your goals. They're like the landmarks, road signs, and turns on your journey. Here are examples of actions corresponding to our strategies. If the firm's strategy is to grow its fintech practice group, it could hire 2 lateral partners each year for 2 years, requiring each partner to have $1 million in portable fintech startup business that they can bring to the firm. To build and nurture relationships with prospective referral sources, it could present its startup law capabilities to the top 10 venture capital firms funding startups over the next 10 months. To concentrate thought leadership and marketing efforts on becoming known as the leading firm in startup law, it could host a symposium in September 2024 titled Everything Legal for Startups. You'll note that each proposed action was time-boxed with a specific timeline. Tying actions to timelines makes them milestones on your strategic leadership journey, positioning you to maintain focus and momentum. And if something goes wrong, you can track back over your timeline to see what taken or neglected action was the trigger. This will help you avoid the temptation to fault an entire strategy and instead focus on experimenting with which actions will ultimately help you achieve it. Leaders can be quick to question their strategies when it is actually their actions or lack of actions that need examination. Timelines will help you avoid that trap. KPIs, which we'll discuss in the next section, can provide even more information. Before we move on, let's practice crafting strategies and actions. Consider one of your high-level impactful goals and pause the training to prepare a corresponding strategy and a couple of related time-bound actions. Finally, we delve into the last interconnected component of the Core 4 as we turn to monitoring and evaluating progress. This component is essential to ensuring that your plan stays on track and evolves as needed, and that you stay informed about what's working. Tracking progress is vital for staying on course. It involves regularly measuring your team's performance against the goals and actions outlined in your plan. This enables you to identify areas where you're succeeding and where adjustments are needed. You can establish key performance indicators, or KPIs, to track your progress toward your goals and assess the effectiveness of your strategies. These specific metrics align with your goals, are easy to measure, help you gauge success, and provide valuable insights. Typically, you'll want to develop multiple KPIs for each goal to ensure your organization gets a comprehensive and nuanced view of its performance related to the goal. Developing your KPIs is best done using a 6-part framework, which I've depicted here as a pie chart. We'll take a closer look at how this framework works on the next slide. But first, let's delve into each element to understand how they come together to create robust KPIs. First, measure focuses on precisely what you're tracking. Target defines your goal, while data source is where you store and retrieve data for measurement. Reporting period determines how often you measure your progress. Responsible reporters, sometimes called owners, are the individuals who provide data. Lastly, due dates are the reporting deadlines. On the next slide, we'll explore a sample KPI together to see how these elements combine to form a meaningful indicator. Let's continue with the law firm aiming to grow its revenues earned from startups by 50% over 2 years. The first KPI they might develop related to that goal is increase average annual revenue per startup client to $1 million in the next full calendar year. Remember, a KPI is distinguished from a strategy. A strategy defines a way the firm will work toward achieving its goal, while a KPI defines how it will measure its progress toward achieving the goal. We can break this KPI down using the 6-part KPI framework. The measure element specifies what the firm is tracking. In this case, average annual revenues per startup client. Target defines what they aim to achieve. $1 million in average annual revenues per startup by the end of the next full calendar year. The data source could be the firm's accounting system. Since consistent tracking is vital, we've set our reporting period as quarterly. The responsible reporter for this KPI would likely be the firm's CFO. The due dates for the CFO's reports align with the last business day of each quarter. Now it's your turn. Pause the video and create one of your KPIs using this framework.